I'd like to thank the organisers for their kind invitation to be with you here today. My name is Fiona Lennox and I'm a Media Literacy Policy Executive from Ofcom. As Frank mentioned, Ofcom is the independent regulator and competition authority for the UK communications industries, with responsibilities across TV, radio, telecommunications and wireless communication services. Citizens' digital participation is an increasingly hot topic around the globe, and it's of interest to Ofcom from a media literacy standpoint. Part of our work to promote media literacy is intended to give people the opportunity and the motivation to develop competence and confidence to participate in digital society. So, in other words, to help produce active citizens and informed consumers. The overall aim of the research was to investigate levels of engagement in citizen participation and whether the internet acts as an enabler of participation. So, do people that are online participate more in society? Or actually, doesn't it make any difference? I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to present our findings here today, and I hope you'll find some of the findings useful and relevant to your own work. So this afternoon I'd like to look at general levels of participation in the UK, the channels that people use to take part, the role of digital communications, and finally, what prevents people from participating and what might encourage them to. I could probably talk for hours about this, but I've picked what I hope are some of the most interesting findings, and all of the research is available on our website. We asked people about interacting across all channels with democratic institutions, campaigning more generally, and wider community involvement. We spoke to members of the general public, those with internet access, and also people living in areas of multiple deprivation, and that was defined by a mix of economic, social, and housing issues. So, how many people are engaging in citizen participation? Well, in the UK, the majority of people are. We found it was about 75% amongst the general population. But critically, those who had internet access at home were participating more. The people who were more likely to be active were those aged 45 to 64, from higher socioeconomic groups, and those with higher educational qualifications. So I've just said that 75% of people in the general population actively participate. But in areas of multiple deprivation, it was only 63%. But again, those who had the internet at home were more likely to participate in the last year than those who didn't have the net at home. People who were less likely to engage were aged 16 to 24, from lower socioeconomic groups, and with no or limited qualifications. We then looked at what channels people use to participate. 13% of the general population have engaged in some sort of citizen participation activity online, and that's the same proportion that have done so via the telephone. People in areas of multiple deprivation are slightly less likely to have done this online. It's about 10%, but actually compared to the general population, that's not statistically significant. We looked at the kind of activities, We looked at the kind of activities that people actually use the internet for. We found it was most likely to be used to give views or advice on a community, social, or political issue to people outside your own immediate social circle. And 34% of the general population who'd done an activity like that had done so online. In addition, around a quarter of those who'd got in contact with their elected representative, joined a campaigning organisation, or taken part in a government survey or consultation had done so online. And around 20% had used the internet to sign a petition. We also asked about related citizen activity, and by this I mean finding out about local council services or doing your tax return online, something like that. In the general population, the percentage who'd done at least one of these kinds of related activities was much higher than those who'd done the purer sort of citizen participation activities, if you like. It was 42% compared to 13%. But interestingly, those people living in areas of multiple deprivation were much less likely to have completed one of these related citizen activities. It was 15% compared to the 10% who'd done a general citizen participation activity. We asked people about their attitudes to using the internet for these kind of activities. 60% of people in the general population thought the internet made participating easier, but less than half of those in areas of multiple deprivation agreed, and actually 20% disagreed. We found there was also an issue related to awareness of what it was possible to do online. A third of those in the online user sample couldn't actually name a participation activity that you could do online, but that rose to 72% amongst those living in areas of multiple deprivation. We asked people how they felt about using the net for such activities and whether it sort of increased or replaced their participation. 42% of those in the online user sample and 14% of those in areas of multiple deprivation said that for them, digital participation was replacing traditional channels of participation. And similar proportions said actually they were doing more participation now that they could do so online. A third of the online user sample said, I'd rather engage in citizen participation activities face-to-face than actually do them on the internet. But nearly 2/3 of those living in areas of multiple deprivation said this. So while even confident and heavy online users recognize the value of traditional channels of participation, this is even more important in areas of multiple deprivation. A third of the online user sample felt that engaging in citizen participation activities online was less effective than doing it through other channels. And half of those living in areas of multiple deprivation felt the same. 9% of the online user sample said, I don't sufficiently trust the internet for these kind of activities. That was 46% in areas of multiple deprivation. And 9% of the online sample said, actually, I lack the confidence to do these kind of activities online. And that was 40% amongst respondents in areas of multiple deprivation. Turning to the reasons that encouraged people to take part, feeling strongly about the issue or cause emerged as the top motivator amongst both the online community and those respondents from areas of multiple deprivation, with around 40% of people saying that this was their main reason. Feeling it's my duty is another key motivator. But interestingly, being invited to take part is also significant, with around 1/3 of people saying that this was an influence. So, to recap, those with the internet at home participate more, and the net is generally seen as making participation easier. It's a relatively popular channel for participation, and for a variety of types. But people are even more likely to engage in this kind of related civic activity online. But there are issues of awareness, perceived effectiveness, trust, and confidence, and there remains a role for traditional channels. But being invited, as I just said, can make a significant difference. Take-up and effective use of the internet are an increasing priority and an area in which we at Ofcom are doing a lot of work. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you found our findings of interest and relevant to your work. Muchas gracias.